Some 29 minutes after 6. If you missed the AM news, don't worry. We've got you covered. We've got the newspapers, and we will touch base online as well to see what the news portals are reporting. But we've got to say good morning to you, Kojo.
Good morning. How you doing?
How are you?
Yeah,
Not bad at all. It's great to see you both.
Yeah. Did you watch the Germany match yesterday? Not really.
I caught the second half, and it was a heartbreaking end to their sojourn, if you will. Yeah, they came, but they left.
Yeah. I think it's been happening for a number of World Cups now. I think the last 3 or so. The winners have been living during
Happened to Italy.
Yeah.
They've always been getting kicked out during the group
Very
stages.
early.
But not Germany. You know, Germany was really strong.
It was supposed to be different.
Coming into the World Cup, everybody thought.
Last year they won the Confederations Cup.
Yeah.
Confed Cup.
But they had a terrible first game.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Actually, the preparations towards the World Cup, they've been losing, drawing, not very good preparation as far as the confidence level of the players. But you always thought the Germans have all the big names, Toni Kroos, Hamels, and
I think they need a new coach. I think it's been there for
Also
probably too long. They knew.
Well, I think relative they have a young team. Relative.
Yeah. Well, relative.
Relative.
But you guys watched Who Watches the Watchman?
I monitored bits and pieces. I
you
think
don't
it's a rehash of some rushes
Who Watches
and
the
trying to
Watchman?
I think the interesting new addition to what we have already seen would be this meeting in the office of a state attorney. That we hadn't seen much of in the earlier images, and this is supposed to reveal somebody who, according to the video, is an ass, speaking with a state attorney and talking about, taking some money to skew a case in one way or the other, or skew the evidence in one way or the other. That is what this conversation is purported to be about.
The graphic covered it, and there's the reports in the graphic talking about. Okay, so let's jump straight into the graphic.
Why not?
Front page of the Daily Graphic newspaper. Before we come to Who Watches the Watchman, Akufo-Addo Conde meets Togolese leaders on crisis. That story is on page 16 in the paper. Also support national cause. Ochihine tells Ghanaians. Who Watches the Watchman draws huge crowd. Economic prospects good according to the IMF. So let's go to page 16. Two stories we'll pick from there. First, President Akufo-Addo and President Alpha Conde of Guinea yesterday met with representatives of the Togolese government and the coalition of 14 opposition parties in Togo in Loma as part of efforts to find a lasting solution to the political crisis in that country. So the two leaders have been assigned by the Authority of Heads of States and governments of ECOWAS to mediate in the political crisis in Togo. At this meeting, the newspaper is reporting that two leaders urged the political actors in Togo to sustain the progress made in resolving the political impasse in that country through dialogue and consultation. So there's a little picture there of President Akufo-Addo speaking at the dialogue in Loma. Paper breaks it down. It talks about the appeal and the ECOWAS summit. So President Akufo-Addo and Alpha Conde of Guinea meeting with representatives of the Togolese government and coalition of 14 opposition parties in Togo in Lome as part of efforts to find a lasting solution to the political crisis in that country. Let's all pray for a peaceful resolution.
Yes.
There's something historical happening in South Sudan.
Yeah, as well.
Yeah. Okay, so this other story of Who Watches the Watchman, the Daily Graphic said the place was crowded. You know, if you know Ken City, there's a Shell filling station right there. Says at some point the whole Shell was filled.
Okay.
Yeah. And then people had to stand on top of their vehicles
to catch a glimpse of the screen.
Of Who Watches the Watchman. The story continues. It starts from page 16 and continues to 23. So if you want to know exactly how things went down and what people who watched it have been saying, you can grab the paper. Where's page 23, by the way? Just trying to see if I can get what other people said after watching it. But if you did watch it as well, let me know what you think, because I didn't watch it. I didn't watch, but what I do know is that Anas this morning is on the Super Morning Show. It will be live here on the AM show, and I'm sure that's one of the things that they will put to him. Okay, so here are some of the views that the Daily Graphic captured. Some of the people the Daily Graphic spoke to expressed varied opinions on the video. While some felt that the loud-mouthed legislator only fabricated the video to cover up what Anas had exposed, others believed that the video was true. Those who believed in the documentary held a view that Mr. Japong had a track record of exposing riots and other serious issues, and cited the Woyome case and some NDC MPs' double salary saga to support their opposition. So this is the bit that the Daily Graphic captured.
You know, it is fair to say that Kennedy Japong in the past has said things that have turned out to be true. But it is also fair to say that he has said things that have turned out not to be true. So I think, as with everything, it's always going to be a case-by-case situation. And Anas also has a track record. So I think ultimately it's what you can prove, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. I believe that if you want to impugn a certain intended motive by someone, then it means that whatever so-called materials you bring to be what you want to use to substantiate what the lawyers will say evidence, it has to be beyond all reasonable doubt. It has to convince people enough. And my opinion has always been, with the work and the interventions by Anas, are we better off than just leaving the status quo? Because what he's doing is actually filling a void. That ideally, if you take the US, the CIA would have done something, the FBI would have done something. If you come to our state,
we don't have
the quasi-institutions just don't do anything. And
I'll disagree with you. Shrash does a lot of work, by the way. Sometimes we do not report, but if you look into their cases, things that they've done, you'll be amazed.
And the thing is that we've talked about, and it's been debated and discussed over the years, about the limitations that even the so-called effective ones have, as a result of that, have not been as deterrent as they should be in their work.
I think in the end it's the impact of what is being done which matters.
Yes, I mean,
and
that's
I agree
what
with Mama V that Shraj does a lot.
Yes, it does.
That is something
Shraj
that
is under-resourced. I think those who are capable of independently doing things on their own don't have enough resources.
And effectively what I'm saying is that...
But Shraj also, on many occasions, has been unable to look into issues because, like Mama V said, they don't have the resources. So it's the impact in the end of whatever weapon we are wielding against corruption that matters. And you see, the fact is, this is a war. It's a fight against corruption. So when we then start asking ourselves questions about the weapon we are using, this weapon is too sharp, or it's a fight. It's a war. Do we want to win or not?
Not, yes.
So if somebody is doing something which is working, is it in our interest
or not?
You know, to bring him down or to end whatever he's doing, or is it in our interest to help him succeed? That, you know.
The thing is that if you look at it, the states, as in the state of Ghana, and the governance structures, we've not adopted the will. The commitment has not been there. And it's not from today. It's been since we had independence. The commitment has not been there because the state has every resource to do whatever it wants to do. And if we leave the status quo as it, or the opportunity, people will exploit it.
But if somebody else also has got evidence, or somebody also can come up with a documentary that also shows something else, it is just fair that they also show it. And I think that with both documentaries, because even with Anas's documentaries, he would say that I'm leaving it to the people who watch it to make a decision at the end of the day. And I'm sure that we can say same with who watches The Watchman. If you watched it, you make your own decision.
I agree. I agree.
Not to spend too much time on this, but the IMF says Ghana's economic growth prospects are positive, while its macroeconomic stabilization is on course. According to the Bretton Woods Institution, The government's commitment to achieve end-year fiscal targets was encouraging. And in a statement issued at the end of a week-long review meetings in Accra, the IMF said the government's vigorous engagements at strengthening the resilience of the financial sector, among others, were also positive. There's more to this in the paper. I see, Kojo, that you've done some analysis on this.
Yeah, I'd wanted to point out a couple of things in there. But there's also a story in the Daily Graphic. Otiko Jaba has been awarded.
Ah, yes.
What is the award?
President congratulating her.
Otiko Jaba has been named Gender Minister, Africa's Gender Minister of the Year. The award was given to her by a 15-year-old girl who has set up an organization, do something, say something, I think it's called. It's just, to highlight, inequality and abuse of young women and all that. And she believes that Otiko Jaba's work to end child marriage is what has earned her this award as a minister, Africa's #1 gender minister.
Congratulations to her.
Yes. Yeah. Moisha Budon was not at the ceremony.
Were you expecting her to be?
Well.
Some sports stories on the back page of the Daily Graphic. Germany crash out a World Cup. Senegal carry Africa's hope as they encounter Colombia. And Brazil dispatch Serbia to top group. And I couldn't resist it. I had to send Roland a WhatsApp message.
Yeah.
I said, your team was smooth.
If today was a Friday, I would have won the Brazilian.
At some point, I kind of just enjoy the play,
Yeah, they were playing more like the way Spain played in the 2010 World Cup. I thought that they are beginning to come into their strides. They're not there yet, but I think that
Neymar didn't get a goal. That was a bit disappointing, but I thought he played really well. And he wasn't as petty as I had seen him to be. Like,
very
he
petulant
not
most of the
attention. I was like, so this guy can play like this.
Maybe somebody has spoken to him.
He refused to fall, and I thought, that's the kind of play that.
He fell a couple of times.
He did. But
it looked like they were genuine falling down. But sometimes I think you over-elaborated. You know him.
Somebody had a word with him, I'm guessing.
Yeah, but sure. Senegal is carrying all of us. I pray, really. Senegal is carrying Africa now. This is our only hope. It is our only hope. But you see, something is not right. The commentators, when they're doing the commentary, when it's Nigeria, they say Africa.
But when it's
Argentina, did they say North America?
Yeah, you think it's discriminatory?
Yes. It's not fair.
Is that a commentary on how the people of the continent feel about football?
It's how they describe us.
Are you sure?
We're not one country. We're countries in the continent.
I seriously doubt that a World Cup that has how many African countries participating?
I think five.
I doubt that the commentators will make the mistake of thinking that one of those 5 countries is representing the entire Africa.
What I mean is that the description, when they want to say Nigeria, then they say the Africans.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
I think I've heard that a couple of times.
But if it's a North American country, they don't say they're North Americans.
How many North American countries are there?
They don't say they're North Americans.
How many North American countries are there?
But still, we're Senegal, we're Egypt,
but
we're Nigeria.
They also say South Americans.
You don't hear that much.
Yay.
That's all I'm saying. My observation.
All right, shall we do that, Ghanaian Times?
Yes.
All right, so banner headline, small-scale mining. Government won't lift ban until water bodies are safe for drinking.
And when will that be? Because you're getting into Takoradi or the Western region. That river is still bad.
I know. And
it's still reddish.
You see, it's almost as if we are yet to start seeing measurable difference, in some of the efforts that we've put into this anti-Galamsey fight. Veep, offline digital address system to be introduced soon. Now,
online isn't working.
Online is Magdan Shipping and 45 companies, as well as individuals, win awards. And this is the Shipping Awards. Happens every year. And Dr. Daniel Macaulay and Magdan Shipping swept the board, picked up the big awards, all 3 of them. And including Shipping Company of the Year, CEO of the Year, and I think Corporate Social Responsibility.
That's good.
Yeah. Obingfu refused bail again. And this is a curious one. They've charged him with murder. The reason the judge gave for not granting bail is that it's too early for his lawyers, pardon me, to be asking for bail. That is curious to me. Too early? Surely, the day after I'm arrested, I can request bail, can I not? In fact, the day I'm arrested, I can be bailed. So, for the judge to suggest that, it's too early, and the reason the judge gives is, the police have not yet gathered info.
Yeah.
Whose side is the judge on?
And on this subject, because I'd been interested in this case from the beginning. I knew two of his postmates at the medical school who called me and explained certain things to me. But if it was just a misdemeanor, it would have been easy for that. But he's being charged with murder, and if the police haven't finished with the initial investigations to put together a docket, etc., then the judge also is compelled to hold you, still get you holed up in the remand prison for some time before.
But can you see the inherent
but you can appeal.
injustice?
Yes, of course.
You can
Can you see the inherent injustice in that?
I know.
Because this man is supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, right? That's what our law says. And so the judge, who is supposed to be upholding this law, if he suggests that the reason why I won't even consider bail, because it's not that the judge is saying I won't grant you bail. The judge is saying I'm not going to consider it right now because it's too early. And the reason why the judge is saying I won't even consider bail is because the police haven't yet found evidence.
So, sometimes when you say
the person
that
is
way,
innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah, but same way, the judge hasn't said you're guilty. That's why I'm not letting you go.
But the judge is saying that it's not even time to consider bail because the police haven't yet gathered evidence to support the charge that they've made against you, an innocent man.
So here's what I'm saying. When you say the way you say it, it sounds really nice and convincing. But when you go and meet the judge, it's two sides, and you have to convince the judge to be on your side.
Okay, but what I'm saying is the judge appears to be already on a side. If he's saying that, or he or she is saying,
you can't say that.
What I mean is, look, what I mean is, the judge
not lie in the bosom of the judge.
Exactly.
The judge is going
and the judge has executed discretion in a way that means something to me, an observer. And I'm explaining what it means to me.
Okay, in that context.
Yeah, and I'm saying that as an observer, when I see that the judge's reason for not even wanting to consider it is that the police haven't yet found evidence. In other jurisdictions, if you haven't found evidence, your case will be thrown out.
I'm sure there's more to that.
Rather than restrict somebody's freedom when you don't yet have evidence
I am sure there's a lot more to the reason the judge gave than just what you've said.
I think I'll side with
there's more.
I'm going on what the story has said.
Yeah, I know.
Usually people will pick what they feel should be. But if you go on to read the entire thing that the judge said, there will be more supporting his or her decision not to grant bail.
Not to consider bail at all.
That's why it is a court, right? You can appeal the decision.
Yeah.
Well, so
I want bail.
Representatives.
So they can go to another court.
But when you go to a court, is how you convince the judge to be on your side. Somebody might hear the thing and say, oh, Charlie, this doesn't make sense. But how was that battled out in courts?
Yeah. Well, in this case, don't forget that the police say, according to this story, that they have yet to collect evidence to support the charge they have leveled against him.
Yeah, and the prosecutor would say, would give all sorts of reasons why this person should not, the judge should not let this person go. And if the judge is convinced by the things that they have said.
That's actually my point. That is when you have a debate, or when you have when you argue the case for bail. That's when you have to, both sides have to convince the judge. But the judge is saying, I will not hear arguments for bail.
And I'm saying that there will be more there will be more to the reason the judge gave.
But we know
there will be more to the reason the judge. It won't be just that.
You guys like this judge, do you know?
No. I want to be fair to the. I want to be fair to the judge.
Okay, I want
to be fair to the courts, not to the judge necessarily. I want to be fair to the courts.
I want to be fair to both parties. Because neither has had the opportunity to argue their case.
Who knows the system better? Who knows the court system better?
What a question. there are lawyers who have more experience than judges. So I really don't know.
But then,
I don't know how to answer that.
Hang on the face of it, I want to believe that the judge knows the system. The judge knows what she's doing.
Have you finished?
That's what I'm saying.
The Daily Dispatch. Oh, you haven't finished?
I've finished.
The Daily Dispatch newspaper, as on the front page, use of voter ID for Ghana card, Kufuor and Rawlings supports NDC and JDM. We know that JoyNews also interviewed the former president. He raised that subject as well. And there's all this, I'm sure we'll have the insert as well. The argument he made, just in that brief interview, was if you go to one of the villages and you say you want to ascertain somebody's citizenship currently, what better way or documentation would you use apart from the passports, the birth certificate, than the voter's ID card? And even in admitting people onto the register, the criteria is that you should even be a Ghanaian, of course, 18 resident and all that. So in order not to exclude many people along the line and give them easy access based on his experience of getting admitted or getting registered onto the database of the Ghana card, because the process also is laborious, he feels that we can admit a third as far as, or a fourth as far as the documentation is concerned. And I agree with him.
You know, this thing about the voter's ID card, I've thought about it. Is it that we have some sort of deadline, you know, that we really need to get everybody a card, and national ID card, by a certain date? Is that the reason why we are so concerned that it's only certain documents that will be accepted? Is that why we are so concerned? Do we feel that it means it will take too long for the thing to be completed?
I don't think so.
Because if that's the case, then why don't we take our time? Why don't we actually
to get everybody to get a birth certificate?
Yes.
Ideally, we should have had people well prepared in terms of having, if we know that we're restricting it to just certain documentation. I think so.
Because I don't know if there's a deadline. I don't know if we have to get this done by a certain date. And that's the reason why we are so concerned that birth certificates and passport alone
I haven't heard them give any deadline necessarily.
Well, I think what I've heard the chief executive say, that within a year they would want to register as many people, and then subsequently people would just, because people will be born every day. So.
I have a feeling that on that note, perhaps the rollout was rather very poor. So instead of coming out to say, effective this date, we'll start doing the registration, the communication should have been before, these are the requirements.
And so that
should be the beginning of the campaign, so that it is in everybody's face and everybody's ears. We would have known, people would have disagreed or come up, and then they would have said, oh, this is the law actually that was passed by Parliament, so this is the requirement. You can do a campaign, it could even be in the form of a song. These are the things that you need when the time comes for us to register to get the Ghana card.
Is it too late though?
Well, on that, I mean, the debate is already ongoing.
Yeah.
So,
but if the process has begun, as it clearly has, is it too late for them to increase and improve education?
It's not.
But
you see, they say that they are not registering us, ordinary, you and I, and all of us. They're not. They're only registering.
You mean in the initial phase?
Just specific. So that's why there's not a timetable that says all of us, Greater Accra, this is when you're doing it. They haven't gotten there at all. And they say they would do the campaign before, but I think they should have done it even before registering the special people.
I think they should have done some pre-commencement public
they should have drummed it in everybody's ears that these are the requirements.
Some awareness.
These are the requirements.
Maybe they just took that for granted a bit, thinking everybody.
Go back to the thing about whether there's a deadline, because if there isn't, then I don't think it's too late. For the education
it's actually a struggle sometimes to get a birth certificate.
Yes, I know.
So
struggle.
I know. Yeah.
It's a struggle.
But that is almost
for me.
It's a struggle. It's not.
It is.
It is a journey. Struggle.
But for me, that is
Even
almost,
your passport.
that is
That's why a
almost
passport is a whole
good
lifetime.
thing.
I'm telling you.
But for me, that is almost a good thing because these documents should not be easy to acquire. The process shouldn't be stressful, but it shouldn't be easy to acquire it either.
Why?
Yes, because that is
A cousin of mine acquired
that
her
is-
British passport at home.
That's why I say it shouldn't be stressful. But your cousin would have had to meet certain requirements in order for that passport
But
to be
for
given.
us, the
So-
conditions for meeting those requirements are just not available.
Yes, but the
Yeah.
point is this: if that document is unequivocal proof, unequivocal proof that this person is Ghanaian, then it shouldn't be easy to acquire. Okay, so that you then use it to collect your national ID.
I just think that we have a very lazy system of registering bets, especially. It's so easy to do it. Just have like a desk in every hospital or something of the sort.
They should
Just
issue
do it when-
the birth certificate from the hospital.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. And in areas where I know that not everybody gives birth in the hospital, you should have creative ways of doing this, even in areas where people don't give birth in hospitals. Okay, time, guys. Let's quickly run through. So
Daily
this is.
Guide. Oh, okay.
Oh, you're yet to do the daily guide.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was just going to run through the headlines actually.
Sure.
Daily Guide has Baumia Tasks Audit Agency. It's an agency that doesn't get a lot of attention, but internal auditors are everywhere, and yet corruption still happens. So Dr. Baumia says they need to do more. They've inaugurated their
They
board.
don't talk, you know. They only
They do work?
issue reports. They do work. It will be
Yeah.
in the reports. And
Yeah.
once you don't read and once nobody talks about
Nobody
it. That's it.
really loves the
But
auditor.
the real problem is that these auditors, when they are assigned to institutions, are paid by the institutions, and so there is a certain amount of influence which they can't escape.
You mean
know.
they are
Does
given
it affect
allowances?
their work?
They are given allowances.
But does it affect their work?
Clearly, it does.
Really?
Yes, it clearly does. Okay, because we shouldn't be hearing about some of these things at the
Public Accounts
But
Public
it's in the
Accounts
book.
Committee.
It's in the reports.
What is in which report?
All their findings, all the questions they ask, all the things they are not clear about, it's in the reports.
There's a difference between the internal
So I'm
auditor.
saying that
There's a difference
the
between the
auditor will
internal
not-
auditor and the auditor general.
Yes,
Okay,
but the auditor
so-
will not organize a press briefing or call everybody and say, this is what I found
But
out
it's-
about this
it's-
organization.
But
They
it's
will
not,
not.
It's
It will
not
be in the
about
book.
organizing a press briefing, but they have certain mandates that if a certain thing goes wrong or if a certain thing is done wrong, there is a reporting structure. They are supposed to alert A, B, and C.
But how do
so
you
that
know
the
they
problem,
don't do that?
Because the thing is still happening.
Do you think?
But it's
Do you
happening
think? Do you
doesn't mean
think
they don't
no,
do it.
No, you know what? If you go to
So-
all the MMDAs, the internal auditors are on the payroll of those MMDAs.
Yes.
That's what.
That's the point I'm making.
Okay, so this is what happens.
I've seen
so
auditors go to private companies.
no.
We serve
Don't confuse them.
We give them the best
Don't
of
confuse them. As for
space
private-
to do their work.
private
No,
organization,
I'm just saying.
normal.
I want to dispute
They're
the, fact
doing
that,
well.
the fact that they are on their
But
payroll.
we don't pay
that
their salary.
affects.
Those auditors, when they come to a private company, we don't pay
I'm
their salary.
just saying that we make it convenient.
paid.
we-
You pay them.
We pay their company. Their company pays their
But-
salary.
How about the same
So
thing?
But
it's
we
not
refresh,
the same at
we
all.
refresh the
Same thing, I
auditors.
believe.
We treat them well. I mean, I have received in an organization where I work,
Me too.
and they get the best of service, and the relationship
But
is
who is that auditor working for?
But it still does not affect. I don't think it does because what they put in their
Tagana
report
system it
and
got
the
problem.
recommendations.
Okay.
Assistant get problem.
So unless
I disagree.
Unless you've never met a Ghanaian.
I disagree.
Yeah.
So why
Who
do you,
watches the watchman?
But why do you, why do you think, why do you think
Anyway.
internal auditing works perfect in a private organization, but when it comes to
It's
MMD,
because of the difference
DC,
that I'm trying to highlight. That when that auditor comes to your private organization, he doesn't work for you. Doesn't matter how nicely you treat him, he doesn't work for you. He has come to check what you are doing.
No, he's talking about an internal.
But-
she's talking about an internal.
But are you also
auditor.
talking about
Wait,
internal?
No, she's talking about
She-
external.
she's talking about external auditor.
No,
No,
she's talking
talk
about
internal.
Talking about
So-
internal.
so-
He said that why is
Talk about
that
internal.
like multimedia? Let's say if we had or if we have an internal auditor, the
Which we
internal
do.
auditor will work better or will be more effective
No.
compared to.
That was the question I was asking him. Why do you think
yes.
it works better?
Yes, why?
Because you're saying that there's.
So
And that's why he's also in.
So let's use
explaining.
multimedia as an example. We have someone here who we pay and is our auditor. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, for example.
No.
We would hire a company.
That'll be an external.
That's
auditor.
very
No,
good.
you can have an internal and then an external.
Very
auditor.
good. So what Mama B is describing, the guy who comes along.
So that's what. Okay.
That's
okay,
the
cool.
point I'm making. Yeah.
But
The
you're
organization
talking about an internal auditor, but private
These are internal
organizations
auditors.
have internal auditors that they pay.
Yes, true.
And what I'm saying,
Who are on the payroll of
what
that
I'm
company?
saying is that the way our government internal auditors system works, it really removes the ability for them to bite.
Yes, true.
Yeah. Because they are being paid by the MMDCs that they are supposed to be auditing. Because whether or not, even sometimes
But
whether
are they
they get
supposed to bite?
No, they're supposed to. Yes,
Because
no,
I know that at the end of the day, they give recommendations.
No, if you say bite, what do you
they
mean
would
by
expose. No. He says they don't bite.
Yes.
Yes,
I'm
they're
saying
supposed to
that,
be like
are they
be
supposed
checked.
to be bite?
A check.
Yeah,
Are they
once
supposed to
you-
be?
once you-
Because
once
what I
you-
know is
once
that
you-
all their findings and their recommendations is in the reports.
which report?
They issue reports. They have
the reports
they have
that-
times
okay.
that they issue
All right,
report.
all right.
I haven't.
Sports is next. Germany is out.
Are we
I
there?
can't believe we've been on this.
we're going off. We're going off. Germany.
Wait. Let me read. Well, let me read
Germany,
these messages.
what's the word to
Roland, I
use?
have a birthday message. It says, "Please wish my baby boy Jesse Lord Adom a happy birthday
Wow.
for me.
Jesse
He's
Lord.
12 years today.
It's a nice name.
It's from Kweku
Yeah.
Bonsu from Kole
British.
So Jesse Lord Adom, it's your birthday today. Happy birthday."
Jesse Lord Grace.
This one says, okay, so are you... I will continue to bash my MP Alaji until he's done the kilometer road on the Block Factory Road off Malam Kaswa Road because we didn't ask him to come and do it. He promised doing it. Based on that, we voted him. Aplaku Marcus sending this
vote
message
for an
to
MP
us.
to come and construct
This
the
one
road.
says, so the minister is trying to tell us it is nothing if people want to break away from a region. If those concerned decides and vote for it. Okay, so I hope it will also be right if region wants to break away from a country and those concerned also vote for it. We hear why. Benghazi sending this message. This one says, I think if Anas wants his works to be more credible and appreciated by many, he must expand his journalistic scope to cover the West. But it's like the Western media, Al Jazeera and BBC, using him to disgrace Africa. The West always wants to collapse Africa, and we must stand up. The West is also very corrupt. Nana and
Our own people, they are collapsing and disgracing us.
So I got a personal, like somebody sent me a message. He's seen he watched Who Watches the Watchman and said, I couldn't believe Anas could ever do this, negotiating with the prosecutor to destroy a criminal case he's investigating and claiming he had also bribed COP Edupoko with $7,000 or $75,000 to kill the case. And then, yeah, so on that, who watched Anas's video and who watches the Watchman and what people have been saying. That's one of the comments that I got. I haven't seen it, so I have no idea what this prosecutor negotiation is all about.
Well. Daily Guide, Rawlings NDC split over Ghana card. A+ storms court for Ursula suit. He basically went to pick up a writ. Yeah, that's the front page. On the back, a lot going on.
The back page is an advertorial.
Yeah, Daily Dispatch has Kufuor and Rawlings support NDC and JDM, and focus on Ghana's Third Republic is also inside, and how the former heads of state and senior military officers were executed on June 26, 1979, also is on page 3 of the Dispatch.
All right, so we have to do myjournline.com, and could you have a couple of interesting stories? I've eaten dog meat before in China.
So let's
I
go
eat a lot of
international.
chichinga here, so I don't know.
Mozambican killed dog to sell as goat meat. Police in western Mozambique's Tete City say they have detained a man who was caught slaughtering a dog, apparently to sell as goat meat in a local market. And if you listen to our urban legends, then it is something that people believe happens in Ghana quite a lot. Also,
Suya.
you see, Brazil danced and dumped Serbia to book Mexico in the last 16.
Wow.
Your boys were on fire.
I'm telling you.
Roland. Okay, and who else have we got here? National Science and Maths Quiz 2018. Prempeh College shows St. Francis Xavier their real size. Yes, Prempeh managed that just because, Ogasco allows them to wear green occasionally. Yes. All right, and by the way, more on the National Science and Maths Quiz later, right? Also, sustained progress made through dialogue. Akufo-Addo tells Togo's political actors as he and Alpha Condé are hoping to bring some stability to that situation. Also, staff of defunct Capital and UT banks petition Akufo-Addo over severance pay. Oh.
They haven't been paid yet?
Well,
how long ago were they liquidated?
Yes. And you remember how it all unfolded, don't you? When they were supposed to be absorbed into the Ghana Commercial Bank. Joe Jackson, father of Michael Jackson, dead at 89. And I still remember where I was when Michael passed away.
That announcement.
And
hit everybody.
Indeed. His father now passes on after bringing all of his children into the limelight. All of them. Don't ignore concerns to re-examine Ghana card, and that's Rawlings telling the NIA. Although at this point, perhaps it's not the NIA's mandate. It should be Parliament, right? Power of the Mind. Peace Hyde launches Center for Africa's Budding Entrepreneurs. Peace Hyde is somebody whose rise through the media has been quite notable. She came home from England as a teacher, was interested in...
She was teaching in England.
Yes. Interested in all things media and found a niche for herself and now reports for Forbes Africa.
Yeah.
Hosts a show that is part of their network of media platforms. It's called My Worst Day, I think.
Yeah.
And now she's seeking to launch other initiatives in the space. So
that's commendable.
yes, well done to Peace Hyde. She's a lovely young lady as well. Very, very
I like the way
affable.
and how intelligent.
All right,
Way she
enough
looks
of that.
intelligent.
Let's go to sports. But before that, let's say Samuel Opoku Jemfi, a.k.a. Yao Neck, is watching us. Good morning and thanks for watching.
morning
What
to
did
you,
I
brother.
say wrong?
One day
you
we'll
said-
also
I
be
said
giving
enough
you
of that.
accolades.
Yeah,
We
that you're
have
one of the
enough
top
of
We
end.
that.
have to
So
move on. We're
I've got to
running
say,
a
I
show.
like Mama B's meteoric rise
Bennett.
to
Yeah.
the media.
I beg
I've got
you.
to tell
I
you,
beg you.
she's
I beg
achieved
you.
a lot in the space.
I beg you. I beg you. I
So
beg
we'll
you.
celebrate
She's
her.
so
Benedict
respected.
Owusu
Celebrate
Delpa.
her.
Yeah.
Benedict, how be? Can you tell Kojo to keep his accolades?
Well, if you have any accolades, please give that to South Korea because yesterday they defeated Germany by 2-0.
Yeah,
And the curse,
Asu.
yes, and the curse of the World Cup struck again. As the defending champions, almost every year are knocked out in the group stage.
I think in the recent
Every
Yes,
4
in the
years.
last year, in the last
World Cup doesn't
four
have it
tournaments.
every year.
Yeah, in the last 4 tournaments.
France suffered it.
France,
Italy, Brazil,
no, Spain.
Spain.
Yeah, it was
And
Spain.
now we have
And
Germany.
now
And you have
Germany.
Germany.
Yeah.
German.
So we see, we have highlights of that as well as the reactions of some German fans after the exit, as well as the other games that were played. Brazil won their game, your Brazil Roland. So you guys are through to the next stage of the competition. And interesting pairings for the round of 16 after this break.